There's a lot of data validation libraries out there, but if you're a Python person, odds are that you're using Pydantic. You'll find it in web frameworks like FastAPI, but a lot of AI tools use it too these days. These include Instructor, OpenAI, and of course the Pydantic AI project. But when you go to their site, you'll notice that they also host a service called Logfire, which is a logging, tracing, and metrics tool. I gave the tool a spin. It's got a great developer experience, but when you go to their site, you'll notice that they emphasize the boost that it can give you when you're working on an app. This pitch makes a lot of sense, but to me, it risks overlooking this other amazing use case for the stack, which is batch jobs. But I suppose the most interesting thing about Logfire isn't just how it's useful in production. It also turns out to be quite useful when you're working on new workloads or when you're doing rapid prototyping. In this video, what I want to do is highlight 4 somewhat unexpected ways that Logfire helps me out whenever I'm designing workloads from a Marimo notebook. Alright then, so let's say hello world to Logfire. If you're going to use Logfire, you're going to import it just like you would any other Python project. Note that I did do the authentication beforehand, so I'm skipping that bit. And the simplest way to do that is to just call logfire.configure. That's everything you need to configure Logfire. And from here, just as a very quick demo, I can call logfire.info, hello from notebook. And then this is now something that gets logged. And when I then go into Logfire, you should be able to see that a event just came in. It's the event over here, the one that's nicely moving along there. And when I select it, that would be this one that is hello from notebook. You can see that the level over here is info. And if I were to go back now and let's maybe add something more. Let's also print less important. And instead of this being info, let's make it a debug, right? And this is now something that I just ran. And if I go back over here, it's going to take a small second. But there it is. The next event came in. And you can also see that there's a little bit of a different color and that the level is indeed of debug. So there you go. That's the basics. You can log some info and some debug statements like you would expect from a logging framework. So that's pretty cool. But this is just printing stuff. One thing that you can also do is just add a little bit of structure. So what you could do is you could go with logfire.span, and we can just give it some sort of name. We can nest this, and just for dramatic effect, let's also import the time module over here. And let's call time.sleep for half a second a few times. I can run this now. This takes a bit longer. When you look at the print statements, by the way, from this, you can see that there's actually a little bit of nesting already. But if you were now to go to the dashboard, and let's also zoom in here a smidge, then you can see that the nested call is listed over here, and we can also expand. So why is this so neat? Well, this gives you a lot of opportunities to add structure as you see fit. And also note that a thing we can do as well is maybe add some extra context over here. So when we configure Logfire, we can actually give it a couple of extra details. So I can say something like, hey, there's an environment. Let's say that that's the local environment. And we can also attach like a service name in this case. And in this case, I'll just call it some sort of batch job. Let's reconfigure this. There we go. And if I now go back again to the app, then again, we can see the service name now being listed here. This is from the batch service. And again, it's nested, so we can expand. You can now also see that there's a deployment environment tag over here, one that's local. So there's all sorts of useful things that we can do as far as logging goes. That is already quite neat. Also notice that you get some attributes over here, right? So you get the file, you get the line number. There's also some raw data that's sent along, like a timestamp and lots of open telemetry data that's also quite useful. But just this on its own, you have a very Pythonic API. You can add structure. These are logs that you can go ahead and add. And so far, so good, right? But let's now do a few things that are very useful when you're working with data. So one thing that I might do is I might import polars as well. And I might use polars to download a CSV file. And that gives me this data frame, this Big Mac data frame. This is about the Big Mac index, by the way, if you're an economy nerd. This is definitely a data set that's fun to play with. And from here, one thing that I might want to do is I might want to have this data set appear in a SQLite database. And as luck would have it, we of course have a data source that we can add here. Marimo has great support for different sorts of databases. So I'm just going to add SQLite, and let's just say db.sqlite. That is the file I would like to use locally. Let's add that. Clicking that is going to give me this one cell that's going to initialize everything. But the one thing that we can actually do from here is we can tell Logfire to instrument the SQL Alchemy clients that we have. Or specifically, we can pass it this engine, and then it's going to do a whole lot of logging on our behalf. Now, to demonstrate a fun feature, what I have here is basically, again, another one of these spans, but I'm now also using the pandas API because that has this toSQL method, and that allows me to just take a data frame and just dunk it as a table into SQLite in this case. So I can just go ahead and run this. A whole bunch of stuff ran. And if I now go back into Logfire, you can see over here that the span was created. We are writing something into SQLite. And then all the SQL statements that ran on our behalf, I can just go ahead and inspect them. It's nice and structured. And all of this logging is done automatically because SQL Alchemy is directly supported in Logfire. Under the hood, it is using OpenTelemetry, and because OpenTelemetry has a SQL Alchemy plugin, Logfire can just go ahead and hook into it. But again, because Logfire has this nice API that also allows you to do the spanning, we kind of get a lot of these features just for free. And one particular thing I would like to demonstrate as well, if I were to go down here, I can take this cell and turn that into a SQL cell. What I can also do is I can say, hey, I want to run on the SQLite engine, and I can do select star from, and then I call this Big Mac, I think. Let's do limit 10, and there we go. That looks believable. If I again now go back into Logfire, maybe close this one up again, then we can see the SQL statement that we just wrote. So that means that any SQL that you write in your notebook can automatically be logged as well. And the only thing you have to do to get that to work is this one line on the top over here that tells you to go ahead and instrument SQL Alchemy. And frankly, that's just nice. One of the powerful features of Marimo is that you really can mix and match SQL code with your data frames. So in this case, for example, right, this SQL over here, let's write that into an output variable called df SQL. Let's run this. And if I now start a new cell, then the df SQL variable appears, and this is a Polars data frame, and I could do whatever I like with it. But whenever something goes wrong here, I will have this one service that is logging every SQL thing that I do, as well as every Polars thing that I do. So I'm not going to be stuck in the situation where, I'll never be stuck in the situation where, the SQL logs are over there, and the Python logs are over there. No, but just configuring all of this once in your notebook, you have everything in one place, and that is really pragmatic. If SQL isn't your thing and you prefer to remain in data frame land, then there's also this other trick that you can pull off that's nice, which is that you can add decorators to your pipeline functions that use Logfire under the hood. Here's just a demo of that. I've got this log polars operation function over here that returns this wrapped function. This is also the typical decorator pattern. Inside of it though, you're going to notice that I'm calling logfire.info, and you're going to see that I pass in a string, but I'm also passing some extra arguments like the time taken, the number of rows, as well as any keyword arguments that were passed to this wrapped original function. From here, I'm taking this function and I'm applying it to all sorts of other functions that do something with a Polars data frame. You can then chain these functions together, as you can see over here. And then in this cell, I'm saying, look, let's just add a span for good measure to add a little bit of structure. But then all of these functions that are used internally over here, these will be decorated and will get logging, quote unquote, for free. And just for good measure, let's run this one function one more time so we know for sure it shows up in the logs. That's good. And there we go. This just ran. I can expand it. I see the emoji that I had before, and there's all sorts of useful information that I see. And in particular, if I go to this add session function over here that ran, then you're going to notice over here that I'm also logging the keyword arguments. Well, why is that? That is because this function over here receives a keyword argument, and all those keyword arguments are logged in this logfire.info just on top over here. So anything that you feel like logging, you can just dunk in there, assuming it's serializable, of course. But again, what's really nice is that you're able to take your batch job and you're able to add context and you're able to add structure. And if something were to go wrong, which happened over here a little bit earlier, then you can see which functions did run, and you can also see that there's something missing, which is just the hint you need to actually solve this if this were happening in production. If you are doing things with LLMs though, there's something extra that you can do as well. You can tell Logfire to instrument OpenAI, and in this case, it's instrumenting the OpenAI SDK. So yes, that'll work with the OpenAI servers, but it will also work with OpenRouter, or in fact, any LLM provider that uses the OpenAI SDK. I'm going to use OpenAI for this next demo though, because there's this one funny thing that we can do now, and that is that we can just instantiate OpenAI right here inside of this chat window, and everything gets logged automatically. So I could do something like hello over here. We can see that something is logged. Tell me a Python joke, bad spelling. And I suppose it's not the best joke, but if I now go back to the logs, then we do see that indeed chat completions have happened. And Logfire has some extra features. If you're working with LLMs, it's able to give you some nice printing. You're also able to see how many tokens were used as input and output. It also gives you a bit of a cost estimation as well. And you're also able, of course, to inspect the raw data, so you can also get the full conversations out this way, which is also very nice. But if you're doing anything with rapid prototyping inside of Marimo, and if you're doing stuff with LLMs, that typically means that you might be keen to use this UI chat feature, well then anything that you make as an app that you give to your colleagues or business users, all of that stuff can be logged as well as you see fit. And I will refer you to the docs for extra details, but you can also scrub personal information if you're interested. Those kinds of features are also supported. I've shown you a lot of features so far, but all of these features were all about measuring data and then sending that to Logfire. There's loads of great use cases for that, but especially if you're dealing with LLMs, maybe you're not just interested in sending data, maybe you also want to pull some data back in. After all, you are going to get lots of these conversational traces, and it could be interesting to maybe do some evaluations on that. Or another use case, maybe you have a web app and you're using Logfire to capture interesting information, then you might be interested to either store that data on something like S3. This is because Logfire only has 30 days of retention, or you might want to download it locally just so you can do some analytics. All of these use cases are very valid, and Logfire also has support for this. If you want to do stuff like this, the one thing you got to do is you got to make sure that you've got a read token. You can check the documentation how to get it. It's basically just a thing you got to select in the menu. But once you've got that, then there are multiple ways to get data out. You can pull a CSV, you can pull some JSON data. In this case, what I thought was interesting is you can also use the arrow format, which means that you can actually use polars to read data in from the Logfire client. Logfire allows you to write SQL, and I'm just going to grab a subset of OpenAI logs by passing along this OpenTelemetry scope name, which is set to logfire.openai. And if you wanted to know where I got that from, if I just look at this chat completion over here, you can see that this OpenTelemetry scope name is listed here. I just copied this, and that's how I got to this query over here. And I can just run this df from arrow. Let's have a look at that. And there you go. Lots of timestamps, lots of trace IDs, lots of attributes. And if I were now to take this data frame and just turn it into a bunch of dictionaries, then we can see that in this attributes over here, we have the whole trace. So we have the conversation. This is all a string. Let me just grab that. And let's grab attributes. That looks good. Import JSON and then JSON.loads. And there you go. We see the system call, something that the user did, then something that the assistant did. Everything is effectively still stored and logged, and you have access to it. And in this case, this is all the OpenAI stuff. You could, of course, also use a different OpenTelemetry scope name to subset the data that you're actually interested in. But this is also a great use case. People shouldn't ignore it. Logfire really is a nice bucket to put stuff into, but it's also a nice source to pull stuff out of. And that's something you shouldn't forget either. And there you have it. These are some of my favorite Logfire features that I discovered by just giving it a quick spin inside of a Marimo notebook. Logfire indeed seems great for web apps and some AI applications, but I would not want to underestimate how useful this stuff can be for anything that you might do in a notebook. And it can be rapid prototyping, but it could also represent production workloads that you're running on something like cron, Airflow, or Prefect. And if you're keen to learn more about that, by the way, there's this extra video that I made that explains how you can configure Marimo notebooks to run as Airflow operators inside of Airflow DAGs. As always, any relevant links are down below in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already.